A Karen just ran in for a second. Another couldn't get the appointment time she wanted. The third Karen screams at me and threatens, and last airport Karen cuts line and goes ballistic. Enjoy.
Just ran in for a second. It's not my fault, and that was her excuse. Flushed face. My girlfriend, Tracy, told me about this. Karen pulled into the parking lot at Walmart. She had her kid was with her, but he didn't want to go inside. So Karen, not wanting to upset her spawn, allowed the child to stay in the car. Not wanting the child to be uncomfortable or bored, she left the car running. Well, precious little one decided they wanted to pretend to drive. They got into the driver's seat, got the car into gear, hit the gas, and slammed into another car with such force, the airbags were deployed. There were others in the lot when this happened, including a police officer who happened to be there. It's an accident. Fire trucks, rescue, is called. Walmart makes an announcement, asking the owner of car to customer service. Walmart makes another announcement. With the owner of a blue Volvo, license plate, hashtag, please come to customer service. That was Tracy's car. She went outside. She was done checking out. There is a reason kids should not be in the front seat with airbags in the car. The kid is shaken up. EMT is looking at them. The kid seems alert, he's crying. The Karen mom comes out with her buggy full of bags, and starts screaming at everyone. I get it, she's upset. The cop goes over to talk to her. She's crying/screaming that she was only in there for a minute. I'm guessing she doesn't realize that Walmart has cameras. Thinking face. By this time, a female officer is with the child. They're waiting on CPS. The child is being transported to the local hospital. Standard procedure for a young child in an accident, I later found out. The front end of Karen's car is absolutely demolished. Tracy's car? Well, her car is already 15 years old, plus, well, it's a Volvo. It's been Tracy's family car since her oldest was in diapers. He's now a teenager. Those things are practically tanks. I tell Tracy any scratch is a character mark at this point. Karen goes on the attack towards Tracy. Somehow, the accident was Tracy's fault because it was her car. And Tracy obviously has an easy life and and the typical you don't know how hard it is to have kids was thrown in as well. Karen, in typical Karen fashion, threatening to sue. The cops saw this entire exchange. Again, I don't think Karen realized that Walmart has cameras in the parking lot as well. Tracy told me that she gave her statement to the police. She went to Walmart, got groceries, came out. Her car had been hit. No visible damages. It seemed drivable. She was going to take it into the dealer to have it looked over. She got Karen's info from the cops. Karen had refused to give it to her. And she left. She took her car in to be looked over. She didn't even get a character mark out of it. Rolling on the floor laughing, rolling on the floor laughing, rolling on the floor laughing.
She couldn't get the appointment time she wanted. When I worked in a state agency/real estate, we had a woman call up wanting to view one of our properties. She detailed that as her husband was off work on Tuesdays, she called, I think, on the Thursday of the previous week. She wanted a Tuesday appointment. No problem. I look at our next Tuesday to assess availability. It's a busier period for the market, and can see the day is full up until 3:30 p.m. As we closed at 6, there was plenty of time from 3:30 onwards to slot this lady in. I let her know this on the phone. I have to pick my son up then. I say, oh okay, well if you wanted a time after he's been picked up, then we could do that too. No, that's too late in the day bearing in mind. She said she could do Tuesday. Right, okay. Well, are there any other days you can do in the week? Or perhaps the following Tuesday? We currently have that day completely free? She says, deadpan as anything no. So there's no other days you can do? Deadpan again, no. Right, well we're not going to be able to accommodate pre 3:30 p.m. this coming Tuesday. I do have lots of availability Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But if that's not workable, then this might be a little tricky to sort. While I think this is a bit ridiculous. I need an appointment Tuesday, but we'll just have to leave it, which is an awful shame for your sellers. I can offer you a Tuesday appointment, but you said they're too late? I called my sellers to let them know the situation. They were really nice and were on my side. Said she sounded super difficult, and is that really the sort of person we would want buying the house? Long story short, this lady didn't end up viewing the house, which really says a lot about her interest in potentially buying it in the first place. Hutia says they can do a day and then rejects the appointment times offered, and then gets so difficult and inflexible because they can't get their own way. Karen screams at me and threatens me. This story happened a month ago, and I finally built up the courage to post here. For some background, my dad runs a coffee shop that had an ice cream stand outside the coffee shop, and since he wanted me to work, he put me there. Every interaction that I had with customers were friendly, so dealing with a Karen was new to me. She arrived looking me up and down for some reason and started ordering. She asked for 2 slushies and 2 ice creams. I didn't have one of the ice creams, so I decided to go get it from the coffee shop. After I got back with the ice cream, I asked if they wanted to pay with card or cash. She decided to pay with cash, and I told her that it would be $12.40. Right after I tell her the price, she says I'm wrong. The both slushies were $4.50, but when I show her the price, sees that both slushies were $9, and after that she starts tweaking and says that I don't know how to do my job and asked my age. I was Niave, so I told her that I was 13, and she said that I'm too young to be working, and she would call CPS. Thankfully, one of my colleagues saw that she was bothering me and went to talk to her. After that, I was pulled aside to explain everything that had happened. The Karen was pissed off, but right before she was leaving, I look at her and flip her off. Airport Karen cuts line and goes ballistic. Context: myself, mother, father, sister, grandfather/grandmother are traveling from a small-town airport in India. If you've ever been there, you'll know the rules about security/cutting in line are very lax, especially in smaller towns. The only reason anybody gave a single fuck about what was going on planes was that it was a military airport, and a pretty important one. In terms of ages, for the ones I'm not sure, I'm adding a tilde, so you can get the general idea of how old that person is. As a secondary bit of context, EK and EM have some sort of aide wearing an official uniform, and I still have no idea how they convinced him to help them cut the line, but let me tell you, this guy was committed. This is also all translated from Hindi, which is my third language, so it may not be perfectly accurate. Lastly, it's a common Indian tradition to pack lunch for your relatives if they're flying on a plane. A common one is white bread cheese sandwiches, and they're almost always kind of gross. Our aunt, who we had come there to visit, packed us bags full of cheese and tomato sandwiches, slathered in stale mayo. EK and EM also had bags of food with them similar to this, though with something likely tastier. On to the story. EM entitled Mother, F50. EK entitled Kid, F20. NL Nice Lady in line behind us, F30. A Airport Aide, M20. LM Line Manager, M30. M Mother, F48. OP Myself. OP asterisk checking bags in with LM. A/EM Excuse me, sir. Could we please get checked in? EK/EM are in the lane beside us, cutting in front of us while we are checking our bags in. LM Sure. How many bags are you checking in? Can I see your boarding passes? OP Excuse me. We're checking in right now. There's also a long line behind us. EK But we'll miss our flight to same city we're flying to. Couldn't you let us just get our bags checked in? We'll be on our way. OP We, my family, are on the same flight. We came on time. Why should we let you cut in front of us? NL We will all be late for the same flight because of you. Why are we suffering because you didn't plan properly? Groupthink ensues. Everyone starts getting ticked off. AA to LM whispers something intelligible. EK/EM thank you LM for checking us in. They hurry off to security. We were annoyed but got our bags checked and headed over to security, which was extremely poorly run. There was one line to get trays to put your things in, and another of people with trays trying to get to the front to put their things through the scanner. However, these two had merged together, leaving everyone scrambling for trays, and those who had trays were cutting the lines like a tailor on a 2-hour turnaround. EK and EM had both gotten trays from the front, a now scarce commodity, and cut right in front of us, even though we had waited for the trays and gone back to the end of the line with them. EK then puts all her things and EM's things into the conveyor belt, which is very strangely barred off, so once you drop things into it, you can no longer grab them. However, EM noticed that EK didn't use a tray for the bags of food their relatives had packed them, and I guess she didn't want to go back to the beginning to get the trays, because she then dove into the conveyor belt over the bars to grab the food. As I said earlier, this is a very important and highly guarded military base, so security, while poorly run, was very strict on certain things, and reaching into the conveyor belt to grab a wrapped-up bag of food? Not a good look. Security officers took EM and EK into a different section of security for a full search of everything they had, meaning unpacking every bag of theirs, including the duct tape bag of food and what I assume included a full pat-down/detector search. Indian airports, this one in particular, don't have those big scanning cylinders like in the US. The 6 gates in this airport were 1 floor above security with some overhang areas, so we got to watch about 5 minutes of this unfolding before our flight started boarding. Needless to say, EM and EK missed their flight. TLDR, EM and EK make a huge fuss about not wanting to miss their flight, suspiciously screw with the conveyor belt in security, and get pulled aside for a full search and pat-down, because the military airport security is very tight, forcing them to miss their flight. Don't forget to subscribe to not miss out on what's coming.